All right, it is actually the last episode before the election. In fact, it's going up in the middle of the night on election day itself, so we will try and keep it a bit brief. We're just going to go over the past weekend and the final days of the campaign, which includes a last-minute bizarre obsession with a famous squirrel. And then we'll remind you to watch our live stream Tuesday evening. That's tonight. We can get that one out of the way really fast. We will be streaming on Tuesday, November 5th, if there was any confusion, Election Day, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we're going to be going for at least a couple of hours. I've been rotting in front of a computer screen all weekend, putting together videos of clips from the past couple of months, and we're going to be going through everything that has led us to today, including all of the gimmicks, the grifts, the conspiracies, and the insanity. Then we will be watching as the results come in alongside any breaking news. So please join us on the live stream, 5 p.m. Pacific. We will leave a link to the landing page for the stream in the description below. But yes, we would appreciate it if you joined us. Now, let's talk about the final days of the campaign and how one has been completely commandeered by a famous squirrel named Peanut.
Yeah, and this is for real heads only.
Yeah.
Like I don't think this is getting traction outside of its intended audience.
Much like the accusations, the conspiracies against Haitian migrants, this has now hit the national stage thanks to J.D. Vance, who people must have been very confused.
He loves animals. J.D. Vance just loves animals and doesn't like when bad things happen to them.
But yes, hearing him say this about the squirrel was probably very jarring to people who don't stay glued to the internet all day every day.
It's like the garbage costumes that we did in the last episode. Like, if you're not tuned in, you're not mainlining this shit, you're like, what are you talking about? A squirrel? Anyway, yeah, it goes without saying, killing animals is very upsetting, especially if it's a pet, which is why the debunked conspiracy theories that Trump and his supporters were perpetuating just a few months back were so rage-inducing, especially considering that more than a few members of the GOP have their own bizarre histories with animal abuse or mistreatment of animals, or just taking them down to the gravel pit.
That's right.
Putting a bullet in their head. So while this next story is being used as a right-wing culture war issue, we would like to state for the record, we don't think this guy's squirrel should have been killed by the state.
Yeah, it's a little harsh.
Seems a bit excessive, but since it has, oddly enough, become the final big story of this year's election cycle, we should probably cover the death of Peanut the squirrel and why the MAGA movement has latched onto it. But for most voters, those who aren't constantly plugged into the day-to-day grievances of the Republican Party, they would have absolutely no clue why one of the vice presidential candidates up on stage at a rally the day before a national election would be uttering the following.
So I know Don's fired up about Peanut the squirrel. We were on the way down here from Cincinnati. He was like, is it really the case that the Democrats murdered the Elon Musk of squirrels? And I said, yeah, it sounds like, have you seen the videos of this squirrel?
Wow. The Elon Musk of squirrels, you say?
What does that mean?
Again, anyone watching from home and randomly tuning in for Election Day coverage and seeing this might be confused about what the hell is going on. This isn't the party I remember. This is strange. These guys are weird.
We need a Rip Van Winkle remake. We are 200 years overdue.
It's just as jarring as being completely offline and then hearing that Baby Gronk has challenged the Rizzler to a no-holds-barred boxing match to decide who is the ultimate meme lord. You see, that should be confusing to you. You shouldn't suffer the way we suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they even the same age? I feel like the Rizzler's like pretty young. Baby Gronk's like preteen? I don't know. I could be wrong.
I feel like that's not a fair matchup.
Anyway, my money's on the Rizzler.
Oh, it always is.
Is there anything he can't do?
You can't bet against the Rizzler.
Yeah.
So anyways, allow us to explain the latest flap in this very strange election cycle. A squirrel named Peanut became famous online after its owner started making videos with the squirrel after he claimed to have rescued it. And he said he tried to reintroduce it to the wild, but ultimately took it in as a pet after it became clear that the squirrel now relied on him to survive. The owner, who goes by the online moniker Squirrel Daddy, says that he was aware that owning the squirrel was illegal, but by all accounts, he did seem to take good care of it. And its fun little antics and its cute little outfits quickly blew up online, bringing Peanut a level of fame only previously seen during the first wave of internet cats.
Unfortunately, for reasons not exactly clear, though there are theories, someone reported Peanut and Squirrel Daddy to the authorities, who searched the property and captured the squirrel. According to officials, Peanut bit a police officer and, well, You know what happens when someone's pet bites a police officer?
Yeah.
That pet is going to die.
Yeah, it's basically...
They don't even have to bite them half the time. They just have to exist.
Yeah, look at them wrong, or in most cases, bark.
Yeah, just bark.
It's the pet equivalent of going for their service pistol.
Yeah, so they unloaded 72 rounds into that poor little guy after claiming that they feared for the lives. There was nothing left. It was just mist everywhere. They didn't actually do that.
No.
They just took it away, the squirrel, and euthanized it so they could test it for rabies, which totally sucks.
It's bad. It sucks.
Yeah, if that was my squirrel, first of all, I would never have a squirrel, but if I had a squirrel, I would be very sad and upset at how this all went down.
He ain't hurting nobody, and he even has a cute little cowboy hat.
Yeah.
So you got to feel for the squirrel a little bit, but it's...
Having said that,
Yeah.
it's not that strange of an occurrence. There are countless interactions between police officers and pets that end up with the pets being dead, which we agree is horrific. But for whatever reason, the right-wing anger can never be directed towards the police. So they blamed the local New York State government for the summary execution of Peanut the Squirrel.
Yeah.
With more on this, here's User Mag.
In the past 72 hours, Peanut has become a martyr for the entire right-wing internet, who is using Peanut's death to rally support for Trump days before the election. J.D. Vance called Peanut the Elon Musk of squirrels and said that Trump was fired up over the animal's death. On Saturday, the official Twitter account of the GOP House Judiciary Committee posted about Peanut.
Get a life!
Elon Musk posted and reposted over 20 tweets about Peanut throughout the weekend. The Wall Street Journal ran an opinion piece decrying Peanut's death as an example of abusive government and tried to tie the incident to crime on New York City's subways and Democrat-run governments. And right-wing crypto accounts have begun boosting a forthcoming Peanut meme coin. She adds that Mark Longo, the owner, was served a warrant and the officials removed Peanut and Fred, a raccoon, from his possession. They claim that Peanut bit a police officer, and so they had to euthanize him to test for rabies. But Longo doesn't buy it. He told several media outlets that Peanut has never harmed anyone and that it would be extremely rare for anyone to get rabies from a squirrel. They treated me like I was a terrorist, Longo told one outlet. They treated this raid as if I was a drug dealer. They ransacked my house for 5 hours.
I mean, yes, it is rare for any animal to get rabies, but when they do get rabies, it's a very serious thing that needs to be dealt with in a certain way.
Yeah. But why were they called? Why were the officials called out?
So the real controversy here, if these people weren't just brain poisoned and had to make everything about politics, the real issue here is snitches.
Yeah.
And Karens who don't mind their damn business.
This is the pet squirrel equivalent of a COD gamer getting swatted.
Yeah, like if I see someone with a pet squirrel, that's my fucking problem.
Also, whoever brought this to the state's attention, I feel like the politics behind it, as we'll see in one of the theories, it would, in my opinion, be someone from the conservative side of things who saw this, because this wasn't political content.
No.
This was a squirrel doing tricks owned by someone who was using the success of that squirrel to boost their OnlyFans page and therefore make money off of that.
Yeah, that is, they generally see that as degeneracy. There's not a day that goes by where I don't see some OnlyFans woman on Twitter getting told that she's like worthless and fatherless.
Yes.
So, yeah.
One of the main talking points of this entire election cycle has been the demonization of pornography. So a bit suspect to immediately have this be a right-wing talking point, but whatever.
It's also funny. It's like, obviously New York City is a deep blue dot, but New York State is
not so much.
Really not so much.
No. But that OnlyFans thing, that is one of the owner's theories. He thinks he was targeted because of that. Yeah, they seem convinced that someone was either offended or just plain jealous of the side business that they were promoting through the success of Peanuts' rising profile.
First they came for Peanut, and I said nothing because I didn't have an OnlyFans.
Then they came for Penis, and that's my income.
And
baby.
it was too late.
Owner Mark Longo and his wife were doing OnlyFans and promoting those pages through Peanut, the squirrel that was assassinated by the government and embraced by the MAGA movement as a martyr, making this story arguably the most 2024 story possible. Here's some info about their side hustle from the New York Post. Mark and Daniela Longo told the Post on Sunday that they had been cashing in on their furry internet sensation, phrasing, who helped steer followers to their raunchy OnlyFans page. before he was seized from their animal sanctuary and euthanized by state environmental officials over rabies fears last week. The couple's financial success, fueled at least partly by Peanut, may have been enough to drive someone to drop a dime on them and their fluffy-tailed cash cow, they said.
Maybe it's someone who thinks I use this place to make a lot of money, Mark said of his rescue farm. Did this do wonders to my OnlyFans? Mark said of the site, where Peanut frolicked along with other animals. Absolutely. It's making a lot of money from this. The Longos said they bought their 350-acre spread near Elmira with the $800,000 that they made in 1 month posting their porn online, and Peanut then began pulling his own weight with his separate family-friendly fan base. I just tagged my Squirrel Dad account from the Peanut video I posted so it gets double the clip views, he said. Every once in a while, a shirtless photo on Peanut's page too, but I completely separated myself from this entire thing. Obviously, people were going to find both and try to associate them.
So just to reiterate, we also think this is stupid and they shouldn't have raided this guy's house or killed his pet squirrel. And we're just as curious as anyone as to why they thought such an intense raid was necessary. But it's also something everyone has come to expect from law enforcement, sadly. And this is far from the first time that police officers have been responsible for people's pets dying. I mean, Hassan pointed this out in a tweet, and we'll go ahead and back it up with the original source, which is a University of New Hampshire study that says the following. The Department of Justice estimates that American police officers shoot 10,000 pet dogs in the line of duty each year. It is impossible to ascertain a reliable number, however, because most law enforcement agencies do not maintain accurate records of animal killings. The tally may be substantially higher, and some suggest it could reach 6 figures. Okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
So while the death of this squirrel is tragic, it's a bit odd that MAGA supporters are only focused on this one particular scenario and not the attacks on pets that take place day in, day out in this country.
Yeah.
But regarding how the MAGA crowd pounced on this moment, turning it into the final strange story of our election cycle, once again, here's UserMag. Right-wing Twitter users seized the moment and began posting thousands of AI-generated images of Peanut decked out in MAGA gear, along with poems and tributes to the animal and diatribes about how the squirrel's death is indicative of a left-wing government that's gone too far. Reminder, the Democrat Party hates innocence. A MAGA account named Steven tweeted to his 22,300 followers. They hate all things pure, gentle, and defenseless. This is why leftists and Kamala hate babies, cats, dogs, Peanut the Squirrel, and Fred the Raccoon. Who the fuck is Fred the Raccoon?
He's another one that was wrapped up in the sweep.
Vote Trump, he continued. With just days to the election, the fact that tens of thousands of MAGA Twitter users are attempting to get the public to avenge the death of a pet squirrel by voting for Trump feels desperate as hell. As one user put it, the online right is desperate for a narrative to materialize, and they're trying to brute force it with the timer running out.
One post in particular was more insane than the rest and already jumped up near the top of the list for batshit posts from this past year. A post from Tech Bro, former Dropbox dev Paul Baum, reads as follows. Because Peanut is so incontrovertibly good, his killing is a Christ-like sacrifice. Humans are flawed, but this squirrel represented nothing but happiness. If you are in favor of killing Peanut, you can't be good. And if you are good, you can't stand with those who think killing Peanut is good. He then presumably quoted Peanut 316, "For God so loved the world that he gave us a squirrel wearing a cowboy hat whose foster parents fucked on camera for money, and whoever reported them will perish. But those who loved him and have also paid a nominal fee to see Squirrel Daddy's cock, you shall have everlasting life." That one's in the Trump Bible though. It's not in the original.
Yeah, you gotta get the Trump one, and it's gonna cost you.
Yeah, but it does come with a free copy of the Constitution and lyrics to that beautiful song.
Also, I gotta say, I mean, people yell at us for eating meat all the time, and they have a point.
Yeah.
But I'd say I probably eat way less meat than any of the people making a big deal about Peanut.
Yeah.
And
not to mention, not all Trump voters, but certainly some Trump voters out there have eaten squirrel and have done so more than one time.
Yeah, it's
basically a lot of people in the South. It's like in Florida where you get gator.
In the Appalachians, they do hunt squirrel.
It's not at least in those scenarios, not a big issue. It's just something that you do.
Anyway, I just think that's interesting.
But yes, rest in peace, Peanut. It is a truly senseless killing that has been unfortunately co-opted into becoming the final bizarre story. So
I don't think this one's got legs.
Oh, it definitely doesn't. I mean, election day's here. Who gives a shit? No one's gonna.
This is not on anyone's radar. No. Who isn't already just like fully drowning in the tank?
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's what's happening with Peanut the Squirrel.
Wow, great closing message. Mm-hmm. Anyway, as for how the Republican Party itself decided to close out the final days of the election, let's check in on old Donnie Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, who, among other things, spent this weekend saying that they want to bring back laws from the 1700s.
I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you imagine? That's when they ran it a little tougher. They weren't so politically correct in 1798.
Trump saying that actually he should have never left the White House in 2020.
I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly.
Subtly saying that he wouldn't mind if people shot at the fake news.
To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind.
Begging for votes because he says that if he loses, he's going to be in trouble.
If I don't win this thing after all this talk, I'm in trouble. You please go and vote. I mean, I came here. Whatever the hell time it is, who the hell knows? I'm giving you the full bore. You wouldn't let me leave in half an hour.
Saying he'll put RFK Jr. in charge of women's health care and everyone's health care.
And I told a great guy, RFK Jr., Bobby, I said, Bobby, you work on women's health, you work on health, you work on what we eat, you work on pesticides, you work on everything.
Speaking about how the beginning of his potential next term would be very nasty.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be so much fun. It'll be nasty a little bit at times, and maybe at the beginning in particular, but it's going to be something that we're going to go to heights that this country never has reached and nobody ever even thought it could. You're going to see things that you're not going to believe.
He brought back his idea for a migrant fighting league.
Oh, those Penn State guys, I wanted them to wrestle the migrants. So I told Dana, you ought to set up your League of Champions, unbelievable, best fighters in the world, and a migrant league. At the end, I want the migrant to go against the champion, and I think the migrant might actually win. That's how nasty some of these guys are.
He appeared to perform oral sex on a poor, unsuspecting microphone stand. And he had his running mate, J.D. Vance, call Kamala Harris a piece of trash.
But in 2 days, we are going to take out the trash in Washington, D.C., and the trash's name is Kamala Harris.
Which is ironic because conservatives spent the better part of last week complaining about that type of insult and even corncobbed themselves into dressing up like trash for Halloween. But,
all to be like,
oh, that's the worst thing you could say. The fuck your feelings crowd. They are in their feelings over being called what is a really pretty pedestrian insult.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. So there were a few more incredible details about the inner workings of Trump's campaign in a recent article for The Atlantic by Tim Alberta. And we wouldn't typically censor this type of language, but people have got, and I'm sure that you've noticed this. I'm sure that all of you watching have noticed this too. It is bizarre. I have heard it in real life a few times in the past couple of months.
It's made a comeback.
It was shocking the first time, shocking the second time, and now I'm just kind of upset that it's really come roaring back.
I have an explanation for this, actually. Because, when we were kids, that was, actually a medical term.
Okay.
Still. So, it was, you were directly, by using the R word, you were directly insulting a lot of people who, through no choice of their own, have cognitive deficiencies and whatnot. Yeah. We stopped using that as a medical term. We picked ones that were a little more vague and less insulting.
Yeah.
And so now the R word only exists as an insult to the younger generation who've never heard someone referred to as that as a medical diagnosis.
And people have gotten way too casual about throwing around the R word, and we don't want to contribute to that, so we will be censoring it. But
this is Trump using it.
Yeah,
this is spoiler alert. So my explanation, he doesn't have that excuse.
Yeah, no, not at all. The article by Tim Alberta titled "Inside the Ruthless, Restless Final Days of Trump's Campaign" starts with, again, a real eyebrow-raising statement. At the end of June, in the afterglow of a debate performance that would ultimately prompt President Joe Biden to end his campaign for re-election, Donald Trump startled his aides by announcing that he'd come up with a new nickname for his opponent. The guy's a he's I think that's what I'll start calling him, Trump declared aboard his campaign plane en route to a rally that evening. According to 3 people who heard him make the remarks, Joe Biden. I mean, it's ridiculous hearing it. It is absurd and offensive and just bizarre that this is a
R-word Joe. It is
a former sitting president, current presidential candidate saying that is outrageous.
I just think it's wild that he had enough people surrounding him with like the common sense to be like, sir, you cannot, please promise me you will not say that at your next rally.
As we'll get to, and it's pretty obvious if you've been following along the whole year, but it really comes into focus, especially because I've been going through months of campaign speeches, rallies, and media appearances, that there was a significant, noticeable shift immediately after obviously because of the assassination attempt, but also because of Biden, where this quote in the timeline happened when Biden was on the ropes, as we'll see.
Yeah.
The campaign was like, you don't have to say anything. You're doing fine. And then once the assassination attempt happened, and once Kamala was the candidate, he brought in, as you'll see, some spicier people into his campaign who allowed him to just say whatever he wanted to. So there was this, like, relative to Donald Trump's typical wording, calm period before everything went to quote-unquote shit. So the article talks about how members of his campaign staff, as Elliot said, urged him not to use that phrase because at that point Biden was on the defensive. But after Kamala became the candidate and after surviving that assassination attempt, Trump really fell back into his old tricks and would rarely, if ever, hold back again. So his reporting continues.
Every hour his campaign spent attacking Harris as if she were a credible opponent, rather than bludgeoning her as the airheaded, unqualified, empty pantsuit Trump was sure she was, gnawed at the former president. Finally, he ran out of patience. On July 31st, during an onstage interview with the National Association of Black Journalists, Trump publicly unloaded the sort of race-baiting barbs that his aides had, up until that point, succeeded in containing to his private diatribes. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, Trump told the journalists on stage, eliciting gasps from the audience. I don't know, is she Indian or is she black? We all remember that one.
Yes.
Actually, I had forgotten about it. This has been, oh my God, I was like looking stuff up today in preparation for the stream, and I was like, that must have been, I don't know, 6 months ago, and it was like September. I was like, what?
That was my biggest takeaway, was that this, in retrospect, was one of the longest years of all time, because Trump getting found guilty on 34 counts was like 5 months ago.
No.
No, that was definitely 10 years ago.
No, that can't be true. I don't think so. Nice try.
There's so much shit that happened. It is, and you're going to suffer with us tomorrow as we go through some of it. Yeah.
Anyway, the article talks about how Trump brought in former staff members, most notably Corey Lewandowski, who allowed Trump to go with his impulses rather than try to restrain himself. His arrival coincided with a marked shift in Trump's mood and behavior. Gone suddenly was the candidate of 2024 who, despite all that inevitable outburst, was at least receptive to direction and aware of consequences. In his place, as the summer progressed, was the alter ego of 2016, the candidate who did and said whatever he wanted and ignored anyone who sought to rein him in. During the week of the Democratic National Convention, the former president shared a social media post suggesting that Harris had performed oral sex in exchange for career advancement. He denigrated the Medal of Honor, the nation's top award for military personnel, as less impressive than the Civilian Medal of Freedom. He accused Harris of leading a vicious, violent overthrow of a president of the United States. That was a fun little thing, too, where they're like, the Democrats, they just did a coup, too. Yeah. So January 6th wasn't really that bad. They did a coup by kicking out Biden. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, the article goes on about the random spikes in chaos from the debate where he brought up the claim of migrants eating pets on the national stage to the addition and then immediate expulsion of Laura Loomer from the campaign. And then also Lewandowski being forced to take a back seat after several weeks of horrific press regarding Trump's debate performance and the outlandish comments. It covers the past month as well, from his lengthy and bizarre dances to his comments about Arnold Palmer's massive penis, all the way to his fascist rally in New York City's Madison Square Garden. The entire thing is obviously worth a read if you are desperate for a refresher of the more recent months of the campaign, basically from the Biden debate until now, and the transformation.
The Biden debate.
The Biden debate. See, I'm losing. I am literally. I have felt crazy the past 48 hours. Links to all these articles, they're always down in the description below. But now, before we get into the second half of the episode, I'm going to take a quick second to thank today's sponsor. And Elliot, you are the best spokesperson for this, so get us started.
It's Hims Hair, which is a good sponsor to have when the stress of this year's election cycle is causing your hair to fall out.
Or you're ripping
mine.
it out, yeah.
Some men, like one of the hosts of this very show, could be me, are able to navigate hair loss gracefully, confidently. But not everyone looks fantastic with a bald head, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to keep that lush flowing mane of yours just the way it is, or even maybe turn back time a bit, back to when it was even more lush and flowing. And now with Hims, the solution is simple. Try Hims' hair loss solutions and you'll be joining hundreds of thousands of subscribers who got their flow back.
Hims provides you with convenient and quality access to a range of hair loss treatments that work all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. Choose from personalized chewables, oral, spray, and serum treatments to find what works best for you. The process is simple and 100% online, so there are no uncomfortable doctor visits. Answer a few questions and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to you in discreet packaging for free.
No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, and they can help you get your confidence back too, with visibly thicker and fuller hair. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/todaydaily. That is HIMS.com/todaydaily for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/todaydaily. Results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
All right, and now let's finish out this final episode before Election Day by checking in with the man who has shoved his way into all of our lives and this election just so that he can avoid paying taxes, retaliate against his perceived enemies, and protect himself from any regulatory oversight.
It's Elon, isn't it?
It's Elon. That's
Elon!
Right. It's Elon Musk! And he's been a major part of this campaign since giving Donald Trump his full-throated endorsement back in July. And in some cases, that has meant potential election interference by announcing a sweepstakes or a lottery or whatever it is that his lawyers are actually calling it now.
This is so fucking funny because, like, I remember, like, very distinctly, like, back at Machinima, probably 10 years ago, having, like, the in-house lawyer, like, just explain the basics of, like, you can't do a sweepstakes. You can't just do that. There's rules.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do certain things correctly.
There were so many.
There's a lot of covering your ass you have to do.
So many, like, movie studio brands and gaming brands that were like, yeah, why don't you guys just do a giveaway? And we're like, oh, because that would be breaking the law.
Yeah. So it's funny that, like, 25-year-old me, like, had a better understanding of how this shit works than the world's richest man, who's just like, yeah, we'll do a $1 million a day giveaway.
Fuck it, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Initially, he was paying for voters to sign a petition which would, quote unquote, support the First and Second Amendments. Then he took things even further by announcing that he would be giving out $1 million a day at random to people who signed on to that petition.
At the time, we mentioned that he had already started to hit some legal snags that temporarily brought his little contest to a halt, and we wondered if this so-called lottery was actually random, because his new tactic seemed to be that the winners were people who would support his political action committee and make videos about it, apparently making them freelance employees doing a job instead of prize winners.
Aha, take that, legal people. We got you.
And now his lawyers are doing variations of that, as well as getting very creative with the fine print in order to avoid any legal ramifications now that he is going to court. This is all in spite of the fact that it was promoted as $1 million a day to anyone, at random, regardless of party affiliation. Here's the New Republic with the latest on this case. Elon Musk has admitted that his $1 million daily giveaway isn't really a lottery at all. In Pennsylvania court on Monday, the lawyers for Musk and his America Super PAC told Common Pleas Court Judge Angelo Foglietta that the prizes were not part of a giveaway or lottery, as, quote, there is no prize to be won, and winners, quote, are not chosen at random.
Instead, attorney Chris Goober argued that the cash is a salary that recipients supposedly earn to be a spokesperson for the PAC. The recipients, registered to vote in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, or Wisconsin, aren't chosen randomly, but are picked based on their personal story and, quote, suitability to serve, according to Goober. The $1 million recipients are not chosen by chance, Goober said. We know exactly who will be announced as the $1 million recipient today and tomorrow. In response, lawyers for the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, who are suing Musk and the PAC for operating an illegal lottery in the Keystone State, argued that this was a complete admission of liability, especially since Musk said when he first announced the giveaway that the recipients would be chosen randomly. To make their point explicit, the lawyers for the District Attorney's Office showed Musk's statement to the judge. In response, Goober tried to make the argument that randomly and by chance are two different things. In his case, that Musk's giveaway is not an illegal lottery.
I love that. They're calling it the greatest legal defense ever.
No, it wasn't a giveaway, as people have pointed out online. It wasn't a giveaway, it was fraud.
Yeah.
There's so many Lionel Hutz memes going around, like the deal's been altered, and just like, no, actually we were committing a crime, not committing a crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that any of this matters, because it's already election day. But still, it will be interesting to see if anything comes of this in the future, especially depending on the outcome of the election, because that he's relying on that to get away with it, because the first thing he tried to do was kick this to federal court, where it could be just made to go away.
Yeah. So, interesting. Yeah. I mean, he's more court cases for him to crank his hog over.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like they got him dead to rights on this one, but who the hell knows? But he has been posting a lot lately about how if Kamala Harris wins, he's going to be thrown in jail. He's going to get deported. And he's like,
sounds like someone's worried.
Keep him coming, buddy.
Yeah.
I
already voted. I don't need any more
music
reasons,
to my ears.
But keep going.
Yeah. And
don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, he keeps saying these things. I'm like, that sounds awesome.
No.
I didn't really think there was a lot of great reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, but you keep giving me new ones.
Yeah.
Also, on the Musk side of things, an update to a story we covered last week about the people being paid to canvass for Musk's America PAC. A real shit show operation that just gets shittier the more you learn. Among the various accusations were stories that the PAC would deny the workers funds for hotel rooms and would potentially strand them in states where they did not live because they were flying them in from other sides of the country unless they kept up those quotas.
Yeah.
They were also being hauled around in the back of a U-Haul with no seats or seat belts because the PAC didn't provide them with rental cars or other transportation options. Technically, a U-Haul is a rental car.
Sure.
Your Honor. Well, those people have all been fired and have been stranded out of state for speaking to the press about what they've been going through. Here's Wired with the update. I have this eerie feeling that I need to get the hell out of here, says Muldrow, a 20-year-old black woman from Florida. She was in Michigan as a door knocker, hired by a subcontractor for Elon Musk's America PAC operation to turn out the vote for Donald Trump in the heavily contested working-class suburbs of Detroit.
Muldrow and the rest of her canvassing group of roughly a dozen people had just been fired en masse after Wired reported that they had been tricked and threatened as part of Musk's Get Out the Vote effort. Speaking publicly for the first time about her ordeal, Muldrow says that the canvassers in her group were fired with little explanation beyond a complaint that someone had spoken with the press. Many, including her, were still owed money. Muldrow had to find her own way home. Others are still stranded in Michigan. A representative from Musk and America PAC did not return a request for comment. They were initially transported via Ubers and were then driven back and forth for nearly 2 weeks in a pair of seatless U-Haul vans between their targeted neighborhoods, staying in a series of motels and Airbnbs in the Detroit suburbs. The cell was composed entirely of black people, strangers from out of state who did not know each other but were usually forced to share rooms, according to Muldrow. According to a text message from Jones, Muldrow was promised $1.50 per door and $2 per door if she knocked 1,000 or more doors per week, an all but impossible number.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Muldrow further says that they were told they would have to pay for their lodging unless they met the unrealistic quota.
This seems illegal.
Yeah, you would think so.
This seems like it violates basic labor laws that are
also fired
so old.
Because of retribution for speaking to the press.
Yeah. Also, like, how
throw it on the pile.
Literally, like, how much more expensive would it be to rent a van than rent a U-Haul?
Yeah, I don't know. He seems to be doing the same tactic as Donald Trump, where you just keep throwing illegal activities on top of each other to the point where it just doesn't matter anymore. You're already facing every possible
Yeah.
court case, it's...
It feels like when he decided to do this America PAC thing, he went out of his way to not look up anything about how these operations are actually run by organizations that have been doing it for a very, very long time.
I mean, that's how he runs Twitter. He's like, I know best, and I'm going to make all the decisions that fix everything.
I'll figure it all out from scratch.
Yeah.
Because, I've also heard, like, they're not even doing, like, so get out the vote. They're not just going to every door. They have voter rolls. So if they're campaigning for, like, Kamala Harris, for example, they're seeing people who are registered Democrat, people who are likely to vote, have voted recently.
They're motivating
They
them.
go to your door and just be like, hey, just making sure you know when election day is, and maybe here's a guide to some local issues or something. Apparently, the America PAC people are just like every fucking door, which is insane and extremely inefficient.
And in some cases, people are realizing the pointlessness of it and sitting down at restaurants and just claiming that they're going to houses.
Apparently,
in order to meet those quotas.
They found like a really basic glitch in the shitty ass software that they designed where they could just spoof their locations and just say that they knocked down a bunch of doors.
Tech genius Elon Musk on top of it. But all he's going to claim is that he subcontracted this out and that this is all someone else's problem, not his.
Anyway, it continues. On Wednesday, October 30th, Muldrow and her fellow door knockers were fired hours after the publication of the Wired story. At first, some people had trouble logging into Campaign Sidekick, the glitchy app used by America PAC for canvassing. There was confusion before they were finally told it was over. Everyone is fired, said Jones, who served as the door knockers manager, in a GroupMe chat, according to screenshots obtained by Wired. Muldrow made it to the airport and onto her flight home. At that point, she says she had only been paid $69 for the canvassing job, for which she had been promised she could earn upwards of $2,000 a week. As of Saturday evening, at least 3 others from the canvassing group hadn't received full payment for the work they'd done before being fired, according to screenshots from the GroupMe chat. After she returned home, Muldrow didn't think she was going to get paid what was owed to her anytime soon. However, on Saturday night, right after Wired reached out to Jones for comment, Muldrow heard from her cousin for the first time since she'd been fired. You did not get 1,000 doors, but to make this right and move forward, we will pay you the $2,000, she wrote, according to text messages reviewed by Wired. A few minutes later, Muldrow got a follow-up text from Jones. Please let Wired know that you've been paid ASAP.
This is really making us look bad.
Fuck, she's talking to the press. We should probably stop violating labor laws.
We thought that after we fired them, that they would stop talking to the press about their very negative experience with us. But I guess there are no honor among thieves who stole $69 from us.
Yeah. I love that, like...
A very particular number to be coming from Elon Musk's PAC.
I love that they could have just done, like, I'll give you $2,000 if you stop talking to Wired. And they're like, no, I'll give you $2,000 if you tell Wired that we gave you $2,000.
I want them to know it came from me.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's all up to you, folks. It's all up to you now. And we're sure a ton of you have voted early. We wish the rest of you venturing out to the polls a calm, collected, and hopefully uneventful day. We, like everyone else, are beyond excited to, at the very least, stop getting election spam on our phones and televisions by the end of the day.
Please.
And hopefully getting back to some sense of normalcy in the coming days.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, who are we kidding? Realistically, this is just the beginning. There will be countless legal challenges for the next 2 months, regardless of the outcome Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. So just buckle up, try to stay sane, realize that after you vote, it's kind of out of your hands. And then you can just peacefully join us Tuesday evening, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, as we suffer through the results together, reminiscing over the past several months of insanity that has led us to this moment while attempting to predict what will happen next.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Anyway, all links, including the link to the landing page of the live stream, are in the description below. Please, please, please like the video. Leave a comment for the historical record.
This is going into the Library of Congress.
It is.
This episode.
And make damn sure that you are subscribed. And if you go to that live stream page, you can hit a bell to let you know exactly when it's starting.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in, oh God, just a few hours for our first live stream in at least 2 years or so since the midterms of 2022. So watch our previous videos, please. They're popping up now. We have a new episode of Weekly Weird News and an episode of News Dump. It's all politics. It's just fucking all of it.
Oops, all politics.
If you haven't watched it yet, it's old news now, but just watch it anyway. It'll hold you over.
Give us the view. Give us the like.
It'll hold you over for a few hours.
Yeah.
See you soon. See you later. Bye.
Bye.